The Las Vegas Raiders have officially introduced Pete Carroll as head coach and John Spytek as general manager. In their first press conference, they shared their vision for the team. Today, we'll talk about what they said and what it means for the future of the Raiders. The Raiders have struggled for the past 20 years, but these two seem determined to turn things around. Their plan is clear: build a strong football roster that can compete and, hopefully, lead the Raiders to a Super Bowl victory someday. One of the main topics discussed was how they'll construct the team to achieve this success. During the press conference, Pete Carroll mentioned that their strategy involves 3 key elements: running the football, playing strong defense, and supporting the quarterback. He also shared his excitement about working with John Spytek, saying they both share a passion for the game and a similar vision for the team. Here's a clip where Pete explains this in his own words. "I've been a big fan of his for a long time. The energy his teams play with, the focus on running the ball, playing great defense, and supporting the quarterback. We're going to do all those things here. We see the game similarly, and I'm super excited about that." From this, it's clear that the Raiders are aiming to be a solid, conservative team. They want to avoid mistakes like turnovers, focus on strong defense, and rely on a steady run game. This is a formula that has worked for other teams in the past. For example, the Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield and the Seahawks with Russell Wilson used similar strategies to win games. The Raiders, however, struggled last season because they couldn't stick to this formula. They turned the ball over too often, which led to losses. But when Antonio Pierce took over as head coach and Aidan O'Connell stepped in as quarterback, they improved by protecting the ball, running effectively, and playing tough defense. That's the approach Pete and John want to bring back this year. If the Raiders can limit turnovers and stick to this game plan, they'll have a much better chance of winning games this season. The Raiders' plan to focus on protecting the quarterback and running the football makes a lot of sense. But to stick to this strategy, they'll need a strong running back, and finding one won't be easy. While the team could consider drafting Ashton with the 6th pick, that might not be the best use of such a high pick. By the 2nd round, several top running backs might already be off the board, so the team will need to make a smart decision. That said, I'm confident they'll find a good running back in this draft. Last season, Signer McCormick showed potential, and Dylan L. is still a bit of a mystery. Alexander Madison also had some solid moments. Adding a talented rookie running back to this group could give the Raiders the 1-2 punch they need to succeed in the run game. Pete Carroll also delivered an important message during the press conference, one that stood out from the usual coach speak. While many coaches emphasize competition, the way Pete framed it felt different and more impactful. Here's what he said. "It all starts with competition. You're either competing or you're not. I'm going to make that very clear to these guys from the moment they arrive. We're going to draft players, bring in some free agents, and see what they're made of. But the competition is theirs to own. If you want to be on a great team, you have to be a great teammate. Teaching that and making it part of our program is crucial. Competition is always the central theme, and that's where it begins." Pete's message is clear. Building a winning team starts with bringing in players who truly want to succeed. But it's not just about talent. It's about being a great teammate. You can't have a great team without players who support each other and commit to the program. Sometimes teams are built with talented players who don't prioritize the game. Some players care more about their personal brand or making money than winning as a team. Pete Carroll has made it clear that this won't be the case for the Raiders. For this team to succeed, every player needs to care about football, about improving, and about being a part of something bigger than themselves. I really like Pete Carroll's message. It's so important for players to fully commit to the team because, at the end of the day, it's the players who win games. Coaches like Pete and general managers like John Spytek aren't out there throwing passes or making tackles. It's the players' responsibility. And that's why treating them the right way and getting them to buy in is crucial. One key challenge for the Raiders moving forward is finding the right quarterback. There's no position more important in football than the quarterback. Both Pete Carroll and John Spytek were asked about this during the press conference, and their answers gave some great insight into the team's plan. Here's what they said. Pete Carroll explained, "I've been lucky to be around, in my opinion, the greatest player ever. What made him special wasn't just his skill, but his love for the game and a competitive drive that never let him quit. He was willing to do whatever it took to win, even things most players wouldn't. That's the kind of leader we're looking for. It's not just about having the strongest arm or being the best thrower. It's about pushing your teammates and doing whatever it takes to win. We're going to search everywhere to find that kind of player." John Spytek added, "Our mission is to build the team around the quarterback. This isn't just about one position. We were fortunate to have the greatest of all time, and we're going to rely on Tom Brady's insights as much as we can. He's one of a kind, and his experience is invaluable. But the quarterback can only succeed if the team around him is strong. Coach Walsh once taught me that quarterback is the hardest position in professional sports. So, we need to make their job easier by running the ball, protecting them, taking care of the football, playing strong defense, and kicking the ball when necessary. It's about creating a complete team, not just relying on one player." These answers show a clear plan. The Raiders want a quarterback who isn't just skilled but also a true leader. At the same time, they're focusing on building a well-rounded team to support their quarterback. Pete Carroll and John Spytek both emphasize the importance of running the football, protecting the quarterback, and playing great defense. Having Tom Brady as an advisor is also a huge advantage for the Raiders. His experience and knowledge are rare, and they're leaning on him to help shape the team. It's clear the Raiders have a strategy, and now it's all about putting it into action. Pete Carroll shared a powerful idea. Instead of focusing solely on finding the perfect quarterback, the goal should be to build a strong football team around whoever the quarterback is. He explained that finding a top-tier quarterback is extremely difficult. It's the hardest position to fill. So rather than using all your resources to chase one, why not build a great roster that can help an average quarterback succeed? This mindset shifted the way I think about football. We often hear people say, "You need the next Josh Allen or Brock Purdy," but the truth is, most quarterbacks, even good ones, don't win championships. Why? Because they don't have a strong team to back them up. Look at Peyton Manning as an example. For years, he struggled to win championships despite being an incredible quarterback. He'd win 10, 12, or even 13 games in the regular season, only to lose early in the playoffs. This highlights Pete Carroll's point. A great quarterback isn't enough. You need a complete, well-built team. Pete also emphasized that making things easier for the quarterback is critical. This includes running the ball effectively, protecting the quarterback, and playing solid defense. Both Pete and John Spytek are completely aligned on this approach, which is great to see. They also understand that the Raiders are unlikely to draft a superstar quarterback like Caleb Williams or Bryce Young. They don't have the first overall pick. It's just not realistic. Instead, they're focusing on finding a good, reliable quarterback. Maybe not a top 5 talent, but someone like Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, or even Joshua Dobbs, while building a strong team around them. This strategy is practical and realistic, and I love that Pete and John are on the same page. Success comes from teamwork, and they're focused on creating a balanced and competitive roster. There are definitely quarterbacks out there that the Raiders could bring in, as long as they build a strong roster to support them. I really like this approach. It makes sense. John Spytek also talked about the kind of quarterback they're looking for, and it's not about having the strongest arm or being the best passer. Instead, they want someone who can get the job done, someone who pushes others to be better. This reminds me of Baker Mayfield. A lot of teams gave up on him, and he bounced from one team to another before landing with the Buccaneers. The Bucs gave him a chance, and while they haven't won a Super Bowl yet, they've had success. That's because they found a quarterback who other teams overlooked but had the drive to succeed. Spytek said they're going to explore every option, leaving no stone unturned. It's not about finding the perfect quarterback on paper, but finding someone who's a winner and can lead the team. And they'll build a strong roster around whoever that quarterback is. I love this message. It's smart and realistic. Now, the big question is, Do Pete Carroll and John Spyke believe someone like Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew could be that guy? If they put together a strong team and a solid coaching staff, could those quarterbacks find success? We'll probably get answers in the next few months. When free agency starts, the Raiders might target a quarterback. If they don't, they could look at the draft. And if they skip both, it might mean they're sticking with O'Connell and Minshew. I'm not thrilled about going forward with just those two, but I'd feel better about it if the Raiders hire the right offensive coordinator. Last year's coaching staff, led by Luke Getsy, was a disaster. He wasn't the right fit, and it hurt the team's chances. That hire even cast doubts on whether Antonio Pierce would stay as head coach. But with better leadership and a stronger plan, there's hope the Raiders can turn things around. Of course, finding the right quarterback is just one piece of the puzzle. There are other important positions to fill, and Spike was asked about his first steps in building the roster. His response: they'll create a process and stick to it. Let's talk about how the Raiders plan to approach their coaching staff. Pete Carroll shared some insights, and here's the key takeaway. Carroll explained that while they're just getting started, they've already begun talking to potential staff members. He's looking for a mix of people, some who have worked with him before and understand his philosophy, and others who are new and will need to learn his system from scratch. This combination helps bring fresh perspectives while maintaining continuity with those who know how he operates. Carroll also emphasized that he wants football people, coaches who truly love the game. He's looking for individuals who can help the team grow, challenge them, and even keep him balanced when he gets too excited. Having the right mix of experience, new energy, and passion for football will be key to building a strong staff. It's clear the Raiders are considering candidates Carroll has worked with in the past. Some notable names he's worked with include Robert Saleh and Steve Sarkisian. However, these options are off the table since they're already committed to other roles. Saleh is coaching the Jets, and Sarkisian is the head coach at Texas. Other potential candidates include Gus Bradley and Shane Waldron, who have connections with Carroll. While opinions on specific names vary, the main point is that Carroll and the Raiders are evaluating all possibilities to build a staff that fits their vision. This process will take time, but the focus is on creating a group of coaches who can align with the Raiders' goals and bring success to the team. It'll be interesting to see who they ultimately bring on board. It's clear that Pete Carroll wants to bring in people he's worked with before, people who know his system and philosophy. This approach excites me because I genuinely believe the Raiders are finally moving toward winning football games again. For years, the Raiders have struggled, barely playing meaningful games in January. But now, with Carroll at the helm, there's a real chance they could make the playoffs as soon as this upcoming season. We've seen coaches like Jim Harbaugh turn things around quickly, getting the Chargers into the playoffs in his first year. Pete Carroll has the ability to do something similar for the Raiders. Of course, it's tough watching the Chiefs dominate and potentially make their third straight Super Bowl. As division rivals, the Raiders should aim to reach that level of success soon. With Pete Carroll and John Spytek leading the way, I think the team is on the right path. Another important point that came up is how roster decisions will be made. When asked about this, Pete Carroll immediately emphasized that everything will be a collaboration between him and Spytek. They see themselves as partners, making all decisions together. Spytek agreed with this approach, and it's great to see such alignment between them. Carroll's experience adds even more value here. He's had success at USC with the Seahawks and in different roles across multiple teams. Unlike some head coaches who might focus only on coaching, Carroll has a broader influence. For example, past Raiders leadership like Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler had a more traditional setup, with Ziegler explicitly stating he made all the decisions. But with Carroll, the decision-making process is more collaborative, leveraging his deep experience. Spytek also mentioned there's no single, perfect way to build a roster. That flexibility, combined with Carroll's and Spytek's expertise, gives the Raiders a solid foundation for success. Spytek mentioned an interesting point. 44 out of the initial 53 players on the Buccaneers roster last season were either drafted by the team or signed as undrafted free agents, UDFAs. This is impressive because building a roster through the draft and UDFAs is a sustainable way to achieve long-term success. Relying too heavily on free agency to build a team often leads to trouble. For example, while signing top-tier players like Christian Wilkins makes sense because he's one of the best at his position, overpaying for players like Corey Littleton, who excelled in one system but might not fit another, isn't a smart move. Paying big money for free agents like Cowboys cornerback Daron Bland, if he hits the market, would be risky. His success in one system doesn't guarantee he'd thrive in another. Spytek also praised Pete Carroll's bold decision-making. When Carroll first joined the Seahawks, they experimented with different quarterbacks before making an unconventional choice. In an era where quarterbacks under 6 feet tall were rarely considered, they drafted Russell Wilson, and it paid off big time. Wilson led the Seahawks to a Super Bowl victory, proving that thinking outside the box can lead to success. This gives me a lot of optimism about Carroll and Spytek working together. Carroll's proven track record and Spytek's potential make for a promising duo. Compared to previous leadership, like Dave Ziegler, Mike Mayock, and coaches like Josh McDaniels, I have far more confidence in this team's direction. Spytek's true abilities will become clear after his first draft. Drafting is a quick way to measure a GM's skills. For example, Dave Ziegler struggled early on, while other GMs like Tom Telesco showed immediate results. By May 1st, we'll have a better idea of what kind of talent Spytek brings to the table. That's my breakdown of the press conference. Let me know what you think, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.